I want to start this video out with these pictures of my Bullet. This was the day I had brought the car home. I got it cleaned up and I started looking over the body, and I knew the car was in rough shape when I bought it. And I looked it over and I noticed, man, it's got some body damage, and I had known that before I went down to get it. And the driver's side door here was the worst. You could see the crease right underneath the mirror and the ripples in the door. Another part that you can't really see is the front fender right in the wheel well, where the picture isn't showing. It was wrinkled right there too. And I started thinking about getting all this repaired and crunching numbers of what it was going to cost to go to a body shop and get the paint work done and hopefully have them match the paint. This true blue paint has a little bit of a purple tint to it at angles, and it's really hard for a body shop to get that all right. And so I started pricing it all out, and here's a picture of the front bumper. It had a big scuff and the tabs were broken underneath the fender there where the bumper bolts. And I started pricing it out, and I thought, you know, it would be a lot easier if I could just find a true blue donor car or find somebody who's selling parts to a true blue Mustang that has the parts in decent condition. And it would have worked to have a V6 or a GT, anything that was the same color. And so I looked all over Craigslist and I came across this car, a 2002 Mustang GT in true blue that was in California, and it was about 6 hours away, and the car looked like it was in great shape. And the problem with the car was it had a blown head gasket, and the owner was in the military, so he would get back and forth to me, and I'd try to buy the car. He was asking $3,000 for it, and I couldn't get communication with him. He'd stop talking to me for a month, and then we'd go back and forth. And anyway, he messaged me one day and just said, "Hey, do you still want this GT?" I said, "Yeah, I really do want the car." And he said, $1,500 you can come get it, and that's half of what he was asking. So I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I got this Cummins diesel truck and a U-Haul trailer, and I got the family, and we headed down to California. And we decided to make a fun trip out of it. Here's us descending into California, and then we stayed in a really nice hotel, and we went to the beach. We had some fun and stayed in a couple different hotels on our trip. This one's on Route 66. It was really fun with memorabilia everywhere. And so eventually we made it to the house, and the car was sitting in the driveway. It looked like a really nice car. The owner wasn't around because he was in the military, but his mom was there to take care of us. And I had asked her several times before we went if she had the title, and she said she had it. And we got there, she couldn't find the title, but she sold it to me on a bill of sale, and I knew that I was getting the car at least for a good price, that it would be worth it, the car in parts, if anything. But anyway, we loaded the car up on the trailer and secured it, and the neighborhood she lived in, it was real difficult to get in and out, and I ended up having to back all the way down a street with the trailer and back up into another cul-de-sac and turn around and everything. And it worked out nice. And a real funny story about this is we stopped at an AutoZone nearby, and we got a pin for the ball hitch because I wasn't really happy with the one that was on there. And it turned out that that same AutoZone I went back to is where I ended up going with my Red Cobra when I test drove it and got some seafoam for the fuel tank. But anyway, here's a picture of the car loaded up. We went to a mall. We stopped to eat. We had a great time. We towed the car back, and this is one of my favorite pictures here at In-N-Out. The sunset was beautiful. It was a really fun evening. It was just a great time to be bringing a car home, something that I just love doing. Stopping in several places as we made our trip back from California. A little side note though, something that was really frustrating was getting the U-Haul trailer. I had prepaid for it, arranged for it, everything. I showed up with this 2013 Cummins diesel truck, and they wouldn't give me the trailer at first because they said that the truck wasn't capable of towing the Mustang on there. And I was like, how in the world does a Cummins diesel not have a capability of towing the Mustang? And in their system it showed that the trailer and the Mustang on it had to come in at a certain percentage weight of what the truck weighed, and I just couldn't believe that. So I said, look, I came all the way from Utah. You're going to give me the trailer. And they finally did, but it was a real hassle. But anyway, we were on our way, and we finally got back on the highway, and got the car home and everything. And so here's a cool picture of my Bullet parked by the car right when we got it home. And I was still deciding what I was going to do with the car. I thought it'd probably be best if I traded the parts and then got that GT running again and sold it, and that way it would pay for itself. So here's a picture of the interior. It was kind of dirty, but I started tearing the parts down and switching the bumper and everything. And this is a cool fender tag that says Bullet on there. That's underneath the front bumper that I found as I was getting the car torn apart. But these parts are the header cowl where the headlights rest, and that's something that was broken on the car, so I had to buy a new one. But anyway, I continued to swap all the parts over. Here's the Bullet with the door, the fender, the front bumper off. And here's the fender coming off the other GT. It looked really nice. And this is what the Bullet looked like with the new door on there in the fender. It just looked amazing. So now that the GT had all the body parts swapped over, I parked it in my side yard. Had my little boy help me with things on it, and then we started to address the teardown. So I decided to pull the engine out and the transmission, and I first took the driver's side head off, but there was coolant everywhere, and I didn't know if the head was warped or anything, so I just decided to just pull the engine out and get another one. And so here are some of those pictures of doing that. Here's a picture of the engine on the engine stand. And the car fought me a lot. There were some bolts like this that just fought me forever to get off. But anyway, I was able to get the cylinder heads off, and these are the PI Performance Improved heads. They're a good set of heads, and they didn't look bad, so I was able to sell them and get a little bit of my money back. And they went on to a 96 GT down in Vegas and everything. But this is a funny picture here of the rotating assembly. It was in great shape. The connecting rods, pistons, everything were fine. And it sat like this in my side yard for a long time. I put a trash bag over it and kept it out of the rain, but water would still get in there and kind of rust the cylinder walls up a little bit. But anyway, side story, my friend who had the Kenny Bell Nitrous GT, he had a MMR 600 like I have in my Bullet race engine in his car. But he ended up melting a piston, and he needed something to put in his car, so I was like, I have that rotating assembly in my backyard. Has some miles on it, and came out of the car with a blown head gasket. But he ended up putting it in his car and put his heads and everything on it, and he ran that car with nitrous, E85, and the supercharger for about a year and a half at about 600 horsepower until he finally threw a rod through the side of that old block. So I bought a 4.6 out of a wrecked highway patrol car, Crown Victoria. It was a beautiful engine. It was really clean. I got it all prepped and ready. You can see in this picture I'm cleaned with Scotch-Brite at the top of the intake runner plenum area. You can see one side's clean, one's dirty. I took a good amount of time cleaning up that engine, making sure that the valve cover gaskets were good, everything, and put the torque converter on it because this car is an automatic. And I got the car all back together, and I got the engine in it, and it ran fine. It had a misfiring coil pack that I fixed. But anyway, here's the car in my driveway, and it actually had to sit like this for a long time because, like I said before, the lady couldn't find the title of the car, so I had to go through a huge process of applying for a duplicate title and dealing with the state of California to get that title and waiting 6 hours on hold, and they'd call you back when they were ready because the DMV was way behind. And it just ended up being a really difficult process. The car sat for about 6 months without me being able to register it and put the car in my name and get the title, but eventually it came. Here's some interior shots and stuff. The rest of it was a pretty nice car, for what it was and the mileage. 141,000 miles on it. But anyway, these are the pictures I took of the car, and I listed it for sale, and I ended up just driving the car and enjoying it for a couple months. And my cousin came to me, and he really wanted the car for his girlfriend. He didn't care about the body damage, and he actually had a friend who worked in the auto body repair business, And so he ended up buying the car for a really low price. It was enough to cover for me the cost of my trip and everything, and I sold him the car and I got my money back and I enjoyed it, and it's a beautiful car. And now the car actually is in Texas. He sold it to a friend of his. And anyway, this picture here is really funny because this is me getting off the off ramp on the way home from work in the middle of the night when my second son was being born. I was driving that car. I remember that picture, and really special time. But this is a really cool car. I was really happy to have it for a little while. I gave a GT life again that was, doomed to be parted out, and was able to get it running and give it a second chance. So, hope you like this video. I think it's a really cool story, and thanks for watching.